Everyone keeps asking why dating today feels so broken, why nothing lasts, and real love feels harder to find than ever. Relationships have become so transactional. Everyone's keeping score, trying to give less while getting more. And the trust between men and women has all but collapsed. But the real question is, what changed? How did we go from together forever being the norm to men and women becoming so divided they now treat each other like enemies? Let's get one thing straight. Love didn't suddenly become transactional. It always was. We just didn't call it that because it was working. Go back a few generations, relationships had structure. Each person brought something of value, and each person needed something in return. Most men offered provision, protection, stability. Most women offered nurturing, intimacy, warmth. And both parties supported each other in different ways. But there wasn't such a strict rule on how. The common factor was that both parties had their needs met. It didn't matter what the specifics were, there was still an exchange. You had something I valued, I had something you needed. A mutual exchange, which by definition is a transaction. A healthy relationship is simply a clear agreement to meet each other's emotional, physical, and psychological needs freely and fully without conditions. Over time, a bond formed. It was built on the belief that the other person would keep showing up. We called that bond love. But really, love was just the name we gave to the feeling you got when both sides are consistently having their needs met. No one was keeping score because no one had to. That's why we had marriage vows. It wasn't just symbolic, it was a clear agreement. I'll keep showing up for you because I believe you'll do the same for me. Love didn't make the relationship work. The fulfillment of each other's needs is what nurtured the feeling of love to grow. All of a sudden, there was a shift. It wasn't one single thing. Slowly, commitment lost meaning and vows lost weight, while culture began glorifying self-interest as empowerment. Serving your partner was replaced with serving yourself. And so relationships became less about us and more about me. People stopped asking, "What can I do for my partner?" and started asking, "What do I get out of this?" Making your partner happy stopped being the priority. It turned into, "Am I happy? Are my needs being met?" Effort dropped, gratitude disappeared, people started taking each other for granted. And slowly, one or both parties stopped fulfilling their end of the deal. Not always on purpose, sometimes just through neglect. But it happened. That's when the breakdown started, because the foundation that love depended on was no longer being maintained. We like to say people fell out of love, but what that usually means is you stopped fulfilling my needs. The feeling didn't disappear on its own. It faded the moment the agreement was broken. But we didn't call it a broken contract. We called it heartbreak. By the time the 1970s rolled in, relationships weren't just breaking, they were collapsing in waves. Divorce was everywhere. Why this happened I covered in my video titled The Collapse of Marriage and the Divorce Epidemic. I will leave a link to that in the description. Heartbreak wasn't just a personal wound anymore. It became a cultural trauma. If you didn't experience it firsthand, you may have watched your parents go through it. And if you were a child, it set the template. Love doesn't last. People leave. Trust gets broken. So even before entering your first relationship, the seed was already planted. Protect yourself. Give carefully. Don't be the one who cares more. And for those who lived through their own breakups, the message only got louder. I gave so much and it still ended. I got hurt. I got used. I'm not letting that happen again. So now every new relationship started with cautious evaluation. I'll be there, but only if they're there for me. What used to be an unmeasured effort to meet the other person's needs turned into a controlled exchange. Give just enough. Make sure what comes back matches or exceeds it. Keep score so if it falls apart again, you are not taken advantage of. But once one person enters a relationship operating from this fear, the dynamic is already compromised. Because love can't survive when only one side is willing to give. Even if the other person comes in whole, open, healthy, ready to love, they're now with someone who's guarding their heart and measuring every move. Over time, they notice the imbalance. Their efforts aren't being matched. Their needs aren't being met. So they start questioning themselves. They wonder if they're being taken for granted. They begin to second guess the value of giving without return. Slowly, the generosity fades. They stop giving as freely because nobody wants to be the one who gives everything and ends up with nothing. Now both are holding back and start watching the scoreboard. And both start asking, am I getting what I deserve? Instead of, how can I serve my partner? That's how dysfunctional transactional relationships spread. It's contagious. There's no free flow. Everything is watched. No one's thinking about what they're giving, only what they're getting. And the imbalance got so bad that in some relationships, one person gave twice as much just to receive half of what they needed. The fear of being used created a race to the bottom, where both people tried to give as little as possible while still expecting something back. And when both people hold back, no one gets what they came for, and so love couldn't possibly grow. This pattern continued to where we are today in the West, divorce rates climbing to around 50%. And for those who are not married, relationship breakups are so common that almost everyone experiences heartbreak, usually multiple times before thinking about marriage. And this leads to a bigger issue. Every new generation had fewer and fewer examples of what healthy, lasting love looked like. So how can young people replicate healthy love if they've never seen it modeled by their own parents? Relationship instability is now the norm, and the belief system around relationships is baked into the culture. That love that lasts a lifetime is idealistic and rare. Furthermore, with each failed relationship, the willingness to trust and give shrinks. Now almost every man and woman walks into dating with the same mindset. Scan for red flags, keep the upper hand, don't give more than you get. Men are trying to avoid women who are controlling, emotionally unstable, disloyal, or there just to use him for his money. They've already seen what happens when they provide for someone who doesn't respect them. Women are trying to avoid men who lie, are inconsistent, flaky, or use them for sex. They've already experienced being misled, used, or left the moment things got real. Both sides want love, but neither wants to be the fool. Neither wants to be the one that gives, gets taken advantage of, and is left. This has become so normalized within the culture that we've even started mocking the very behaviors that used to make relationships work. A man who gives without holding back, he's a simp. A woman who gives without holding back, she's a doormat. Giving too much without any expectation of return now makes you the fool. But go back just a few generations and those exact traits built marriages that lasted decades. Now, giving openly and freely with no conditions is considered foolish because everyone is playing the same game. Take first, give later. And neither party is left satisfied, as that is not how love works. Which is why we have an expression in English called making love. It's not taking love. As a result, both men and women are left asking, is the juice even worth the squeeze? So what is the answer? Love doesn't come back just because we want it to. It only returns when both men and women are willing to give without restrictions and stop obsessing over what they're getting. In a culture shaped by constant disappointment, that kind of love takes real courage. But someone has to go first. Someone has to go all in. The question is, who's willing to take that chance when everyone's afraid to lose? If you found this video insightful, you might like another one on a similar topic. Click on the thumbnail to watch or keep exploring. Also, please comment, like, and subscribe to the channel.